We're almost there. Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm your host, Piyusha, and we're super excited to have you all with us in the new year 2022. I'm sure you all have enjoyed a very amazing festive season. So I know you all are very eager. I can see from your comments. But before we start with the session, a little housekeeping tip: the session will be recorded, and so you can revisit the session on your own on our YouTube channel. So, as I said, this is our very first LinkedIn Live of 2022. As a part of our Build Your Career in Salesforce series, today we have the wonderful Joey Chan with us. Joey is a 21x Salesforce certified consultant. He's also the organizer of PH Dreaming and C Dreaming and the Salesforce MVP series. Joey is an MVP. Again, he is the Salesforce Technical Architect and the Trailblazer Community Group Leader. So without further ado, let's welcome Joey. Hi, Joey. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Why? Okay, so how are you doing, Joey?
Yeah, doing great. Really appreciate the invite here and looking forward to sharing of some of the things that we've learned throughout the decades of working with Salesforce and specifically Service Cloud.
Oh, wow. Fantastic to hear that, Joey. So why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yep. So I actually basically started my Salesforce journey back in 2009. Basically, I, I started the sales learning Salesforce back in college. A company actually taught a Salesforce elective in my college, and then I took that. I then actually went to that company for my first job. So that's way back in 2009, and throughout the years, one of the things that I had a goal is actually within 5 years, I wanted to have my own business. So I had an option back then. Should I go with SAP or should I go with Salesforce? The thing about Salesforce is that there's so much you can do without necessarily having a big team. So I literally doubled down on Salesforce, and 12, 13 years from now, I'm actually still doing quite a lot on Salesforce.
So that was probably the start of the Salesforce as well. 12, 13 years ago, people were starting to get excited about this new technology, which was coming in. And even though Salesforce started like over 2 decades ago, I guess 12, 13 years back was the time when people were getting more excited and newer people were joining in the Salesforce space.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, during that time, Trailhead didn't exist. Technically, the training that I got is literally getting a PDF and just follow
Mhm.
this. So imagine it as a basic version of Trailhead. So you basically
Mhm.
go through a series of steps, just follow it. That's it.
Ah, okay. That's really exciting. But you have been around in the Salesforce space for a very long time then.
Well, I would say I'm considered one of the early ones, especially for where I am from the Philippines. When I actually started, there were actually only around two companies doing Salesforce consulting back then.
Oh, wow.
So I was actually in one of those. So yeah, there's not really that many options as we have right now, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that's so true. Now we have a lot of companies or Salesforce partners within the space as well. All right. So thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Joey. For our audience, please give Joey a shout out and share where you're joining us from. You can also send in your messages and questions for Joey via the comment section. And Joey will be answering your questions towards the end of the session. Um, before we begin, I just want to share this with our audience. The session is for people who are trying to build a career specifically in Service Cloud or as a Service Cloud consultant. So we'll be covering a lot of important points and details today. So let's get started, Joey. We all want to know from you. Obviously, a lot of people who are attending the live already know what is a Salesforce Service Cloud, but we want to hear it from you. What is a Service Cloud? How it helps all these different organizations who are using the Salesforce Service Cloud?
All right. So Salesforce Service Cloud is actually part of what we call the core offering of Salesforce, right? It's part of what we call Salesforce Core. What does Salesforce Core mean? It's actually the main platform that Salesforce started with. So
Mhm.
many of you may be familiar with other clouds. So we're talking about Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, you have Experience Cloud, you have Marketing Cloud. But the main Sales Cloud and Service Cloud is actually part of what we call the core. And for example, Tableau CRM, Marketing Cloud, these are actually some of the things that it's more of a separate system, but it's still offered by Salesforce. It's not necessarily part of the Salesforce core. So,
Mhm.
what is actually Service Cloud? So, the thing is, Salesforce is actually a CRM, right? So part of CRM is basically focusing on the customer. So the Sales Cloud is actually focused on the sales side, meaning coming from the part wherein you're talking about the leads, figuring out attribution, what type of marketing is appropriate, down to the point of sale, right? So you create an account, opportunities, right? At that point, usually, in many cases, for company, it could either be they're selling a service or they're selling a product, right? In both cases, Service Cloud is something that can actually help a lot in terms of ensuring that you provide the best customer service. The thing is, Service Cloud in itself is composed of quite a lot of different subcomponents that helps in terms of interacting with customers. Think about it this way. Let's say if you're a customer and let's say you have a credit card. So there are many ways for you to interact with the company, right? It could be, for example, in the form of email. It could be in the form of calling them. Some companies actually even have social service, meaning they can use, for example, social media, like for example Twitter, to connect with you. And for example, if you have a problem, you can actually connect with them through Twitter. So those are some of the capabilities, and part of Sales Service Cloud too is later on being able to, for example, connect it to what we call Experience Cloud. That would then allow the users to be able to do self-service, like being able to log in, see their cases, see their information, contact them, or so. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so as the name suggests, mostly Service Cloud is there to help the customer support team providing the best service they can within the organization. Perfect. Okay, so we are getting a lot of comments from people. In the meantime, Joey said, if you, feel free to post in the chat your roles and how much experience you have in Salesforce. So yeah, just talk about it, just have it as a conversation starter and keep
Sure.
your comments rolling. Perfect.
Yeah,
So
feel free to
moving on.
post. Mhm.
Sorry.
Yeah, feel free to post it. I wasn't sure if they're getting the message there.
Yeah, it's a private chat, so if you want
I
to
see.
connect with people, maybe you can talk about it or you can post it in
Yeah.
the comment
All right.
section.
Feel free to post so that we'll get a gauge in terms of how deep we want the discussion to be, or should it be more on a high level. All right.
Okay,
So, yep. Go ahead.
perfect. So moving on. We do understand now that what Service Cloud is. We obviously want to know what are the career opportunities in Service Cloud, and yeah, how because when you're evaluating whether we should make a career in Service Cloud or not, this is the first thing which people will think about. If there are plenty of opportunities, then it's a better thing for most people to get started with a journey with as a Salesforce Cloud consultant, or yeah, in the detail as well, like as you'll explain in
Yeah. Sure.
later this. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
please.
So in terms of career opportunities, most of you listening right now may already be aware that Salesforce career opportunities is really hot, right? The thing is, it's not necessarily limited to just simply Service Cloud. In many companies, once they actually purchase Salesforce, there's high likelihood of that they will actually also be implementing Service Cloud in one way or another. So the thing is, it's not whenever you're looking for opportunities, a lot of it would come in the form of Salesforce admin, Salesforce developer. The thing is, it actually works hand in hand with Salesforce Service Cloud. So
Mhm.
if you're trying to get, let's say, if you're beginning your Salesforce journey and you're still studying what Salesforce is and what career opportunities there are, simply
Mhm.
search, let's say, the different companies that actually use Salesforce.
Mhm.
You could go to LinkedIn or other job sites and just search for Salesforce jobs. Look at their specifics in terms of what they're looking for. Yeah, I'm sure you'd see a lot of things mentioning about experience, but there are many ways for you to gain experience. So, not just Trailhead, it's actually being able to build your own things on your developer org. So that's my career advice for those that are starting out. Don't limit yourself to simply getting more points or badges or more certifications. One of the best ways to demonstrate your skill set is actually building something out and showing it to the world, right? So there
Mhm.
are free ways that you can do that. So
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You know, a lot of people who are starting their journey with either within Salesforce or with even Salesforce Service Cloud, they tend to gain more points and just higher ranks within the trailhead instead of actually building something which they can use potentially to get a job as well.
mhm. Yep. In many cases, I'm sure many of you may have heard being able to volunteer. Yes, those may have some merits, but one of the more important things is you being able to create something and be able to demonstrate um, why you did something, how you did it, and what business problems it's actually going to solve. The end result is that, and being able to write about it to see that, hey, this is what I've done, and just simply share it to the world. In many cases, there will be some imposter syndrome. Hey, it's too basic. It's something that most people would already know. But if you simply share that, some people would benefit from it. Some people won't necessarily care. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to get a job, simply be vulnerable. Just keep on sharing what you know, what you've learned, and people will notice. So yeah, that's one of the things that I would give as a tip for those that are starting out.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. You know, sharing your knowledge is always an interesting point. If nothing else, people will know that you know about this topic. So yeah, that's almost like branding for yourself. It'll
Yep.
eventually help you with the job search. Um, okay, so Joey, when we started with this question, you actually talked about the opportunities on the client side where companies who are purchasing Salesforce license, they might eventually move on to the Service Cloud side as well. What do you think about the partner side of opportunities?
Yep. With regards to the partner side of the opportunities, in many cases, whenever a Salesforce license is bought by an end client, uh, what usually happens is that it's not actually advisable for the end client to implement Salesforce themselves, since there's a high likelihood of failure if they try to do that. So in many cases, they usually refer to a partner that will then do the sales or service cloud implementation. That's actually where you can have opportunities in terms of gaining deeper experience in terms of how many different companies use Service Cloud. And then from there, once you gain all of that experience, you then also have different opportunities to go to an end client and, for example, either enhance their Service Cloud implementation or 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 maintain it, right? So that's something that that's the opportunities in terms of the Service Cloud.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. You know, a lot of the times it is recommended to get your org set up by certified and qualified resources, and so there are plenty of opportunities on both client side as well as on the partner side. I know I mentioned that we will be answering questions toward the end of the session, but while we're at this point of the career opportunities and how sales service cloud is linked to the sales cloud, we got a question from Tom wants to know, Joey, can you explain the connection between service cloud and sales cloud and why a company would use both or only one of the cloud products?
All right. So with regards to Sales Cloud and Service Cloud, if you were to just make it basic, Sales Cloud typically deals with the leads, accounts, contacts, opportunities, and then usually it's on. Take note, cases is also in. If you just simply purchase Sales Cloud, cases is something built in. But if you are going to purchase what we call a Service Cloud licenses, there's actually a lot more capabilities in terms of being able to focus specifically on the service aspect of the business. Although, if you're simply talking about being able to handle cases, that's actually already part of Sales Cloud. So in terms of connection, both Service Cloud and Sales Cloud is actually running on the same platform. In terms of why would a company use both or one or the other, so a company would actually want to use both. Let's say if they're selling a physical product, let's say a company may be selling a phone. So there's usually a process of a lead um, going in and then purchasing a phone, for example. Now that's going to be an opportunity closed one. After the purchase, there's usually a way for you to track who purchased what, what's the serial number, IMEI of that phone number, and of that phone that they got. And then from there, let's say if there's an issue, let's say they're trying to claim for a warranty, let's say your customer support can actually easily see that, hey, this person bought this device 9 months ago, so they're still eligible for this warranty. So that's one of the best scenarios in terms of being able to have it all in one platform. In many cases, if you're using traditional systems, the platform that's used is actually going to be different from what you use for service, which actually makes things harder. And the nice thing about that is you'd actually be able to see the purchase history, how much this person paid, any interactions with this customer. Okay, you'll be able to see this person also emailed this 2 days ago or one day ago. And then now he's calling because there's a problem with it, right? So you'd be able to see all of those and create analytics based on that. Does that help?
Yeah, I think it is very clear. Like you explained everything very nicely. And even like without Sales Cloud, I think in most of the cases, Service Cloud is a lot of the time useless, I'll say, because you don't have all the information linked to that particular client's account or knowledge, or purchase history and everything. So yeah, and even with Salesforce licenses, they do sell these two licenses mostly together. In very few cases, they will be selling the licenses separately. So I guess except for the basic package, for all the other license packages include both Sales and Service Cloud.
Yep. And then one other thing, it's not that more expensive to actually get both. So in many cases, the value of just getting one or the other, eh, in many cases, there's going to be still some value of just getting both, though. So it really depends on the company, whether it's small or large. The thing is, these have to be addressed by usually either a solution architect or a technical architect, just to plan out what it is that you actually need in terms of what's the roadmap for the next 3 years, for example. How do you want to implement this and why, right? So there's actually a lot more discussions. So it's something that we don't necessarily recommend you just going in and purchasing that, hey, this is what we want. There's going to be a lot of discussions that you may want before understanding what you actually need.
Mhm. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Mhm.
I hope it answers Tom's question. We will move on to our series now. So, our next question is how one can get started on their journey to be a Service Cloud certified resource.
All right. So, in terms of certification, the best resource, of course, is going to be Trailhead. So, let me share my screen. Are you able to switch it? All right. So, here we have the Trailhead page on the consultant, right? Specifically, we're talking about Service Cloud. So this is actually what you'd want to focus on if you want to specialize on Service Cloud. So you'll notice that we actually have a prerequisite of Salesforce Administrator. So in order for you to take the exam for the Service Cloud Consultant, you need to have the certification first. So of course, make sure that you take your admin exam. And then from here, you'd actually be able to see a trail mix of the different modules that you have to go through. It actually breaks down the different things that you have to go through, like the industry knowledge, implementation strategies, service solution design. This actually should help you a lot in terms of gaining the necessary knowledge. In terms of building your own career on Service Cloud, the thing is, sometimes it's actually going to be a chicken and egg problem. You may not necessarily be considered for a job position requiring Service Cloud if you don't have experience. But at the same time, gaining that certification would also help your prospective employer that you have at least this basic knowledge about Salesforce Service Cloud, just to give them more confidence. That would give you an edge versus another candidate that may not have the experience and don't have the certification, right? So if this is something that you really want, and let's say given that you have a budget, it actually something this is something that I would recommend that you could also consider getting yourself. There are many avenues if you're willing in terms of getting this certification for free. Sometimes there are actually user group events around the world that are giving away certification vouchers after the event, usually through a quiz or some event. That's something that you can participate. I'll share actually some links later. It's actually a calendar. Please. So there's this calendar that shows you all of the different events around the world. So through this, for example, you can change the filter to only show virtual events. And then from here, you can actually look at your calendar. Hey, am I free during this time? And then these are the different events around the world that you can actually join. And then just look for things focusing on Service Cloud or topics related to it if you want. But this is something that could help you a lot in terms of building your connections and being able to connect with other people. If you have the budget, you could also consider getting it yourself. The certification costs actually $200, and right now there's actually a discount of SF New Year that you can do for 30% off. That's actually valid until the end of the month. So yeah, you want to go back?
Yeah, so this is fantastic. People can actually get the certification for a discounted price at the moment. What do you think about? So I actually heard that a lot of the companies or even Salesforce partners they are offering certification vouchers to their employees as well. So I guess if you are an admin or a developer and you want to get another certification, you can probably check with the organization. A lot of the times they might be they might offer you a free certification voucher, so you might not even have to spend any money on it.
Yep. And then one other thing, if you're working for SIs, in many cases, they're actually incentivized to have more certified employees. So they're actually more than willing to provide the vouchers that you would need or want to go through that certification.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, so once somebody gets certified with a Service Cloud license, what are the uh, chances to grow within the Service Cloud journey?
All right. The thing is, there's actually quite a lot of aspects on Service Cloud. Uh, you could be working on different industries, or you could also specialize on one specific industry. For example, financial services, depending on what you want. So the nice thing about that, you could go really deep in terms of just a certain product and go through different industries, or go wide in terms of multiple different service cloud offerings. I could actually show you some of it. Uh, all right. So this is actually showing us some of the offerings for Service Cloud. So what you'll see, because Salesforce already acquired Slack, that's actually already part of customer service offering. And then you also have different ways of creating a better customer service, whether it's through a service console, being able to create cases. So this for example, when you send an email to support at companyname.com, if they're using Salesforce, that's actually what they're using to manage the cases, and then assign it to the right person depending on the product inquiry. For larger companies like Salesforce, they have quite a lot of product lines, right? So depending on your question, they may route it to a specific team. Being able to automate the processes through workflow and approval, being able to have live chats, being able to connect it directly with the phone line. So let's say um, you're calling your credit card company. Let's say, of course, they have your phone number or mobile number, right? In many cases, they can actually determine that, hey, since because of this number of the caller ID, it will then look up the database and determine who you are, even before you got connected. There are ways like that. Social customer service, you could actually go through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and other social media and be able to respond to those customer questions. There's actually quite a lot here just for Service Cloud alone. And actually encourage you to look into this. There's also self-service. So let's say if you want your customers to be able to go through a portal and be able to find answers themselves through a FAQ, or even something like a community wherein other customers can actually interact with with other customers to help each other, right? So there you could build those communities. And then you also have digital channels in terms of being able to have things through mobile messaging, SMS, or Facebook Messenger, through a video chat. So there's actually quite a lot of options here. So this is something that I encourage everyone to explore depending on what they actually enjoy doing. All
Mhm.
right. And then we also have another one step further to this. There's actually another certification named Field Service. So for those that actually want to specialize, this is actually another possible career path. So imagine this, let's say if you have, let's say, a utility company and you want to be able to allocate those technicians appropriately depending on demand. You, this is basically your headquarters or command center in terms of being able to allocate. Hey, for the next 5 days, these are going to be our schedule. You do this location A, B, and C in this specific order, because that's what's going to be optimizing the time in terms of 1 hour here, 30 minutes work here. That would optimize their workload. All right. Does that help?
Yeah, it does actually. So you have actually explained in a very nice manner that how you can build different. You can actually specialize in different areas within the Service Cloud, and how
Mm-hmm.
you can move on to be an expert within the Service Cloud zone with this Service Cloud field service consultant certification.
Yep. Take note, there's a certain, if you want to simply get a certification for Service Cloud, just simply focus on the Trailhead module and the exam guide. You could literally get into deep learning for a lot of these, but many of them may not be necessarily be covered in that exam. So it really depends on where you want to go. But all of the resources are already there. It's just a matter of leveraging it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Okay. So our next question is, what do you think are the latest innovations in Service Cloud? Because Service Cloud's been around for a very long time, and they keep on adding more and more things with every update, which we get almost 3 times a year. And we recently got the Spring 22 update, and it's really interesting. So, what do you think are the latest innovations in the Service Cloud, and how those are going to help companies who are using Service Cloud, or even for the people who are within the Service Cloud space?
Yep. So I'm sure you may have heard that Salesforce bought Slack for how many billions there, right? So one of the biggest things here is that it's actually allowing companies to change the way they do service. So imagine this. In many cases, if you have a product issue, um, depending on the company, let's say if you call them, sometimes you get routed to different departments or different teams. It feels like you're getting passed to each other, right? That's actually one of the things that Slack acquisition and being able to integrate with Slack is actually trying to solve. It's what we call case swarming. So imagine this. Let's say you may have a customer rep. Instead of this person sending routing you to different departments, they can use Slack to actually ask questions within their specific product community, and other experts within that can immediately answer the question. Instead of being passed around, that specific rep that you're talking to can be just the point person responsible to in terms of getting the right answers from the experts and then relaying it to you. The benefit of that is that you actually gain a lot of expertise from other people instead of just one person doing escalation. Okay, I'll escalate to this my manager. Okay, this manager will then route it to the different team. Instead of doing it that way, you actually can actually solve the problems much faster. So take note, this is not something totally new, but the acquisition is actually like an enabler in terms of these things, because Salesforce is actually building integrations to help with that.
Yeah, you actually explained it wonderfully, because Slack acquisition has helped Salesforce, rapidly transitioning how we communicate at the moment within the organization, and it is really helpful, as you mentioned, with the Service Cloud team. It is really helpful to communicate within teams or with different departments, and actually, rather than rerouting the particular query to different department, you can actually answer that within a few seconds. Perfect. Okay, so moving on. This is our last questions to all of our viewers. If you have any questions for Joey, we'll start taking your questions after this question. So once we, get through this. So if you have any questions, please post them in the comment section below, and Joey will be answering them pretty soon. Okay, so Joey, do you have any tips or tricks for individuals who want to pursue their career in Salesforce, or who are actually pursuing their career in Salesforce? Oh, sorry, Service Cloud.
All right. So it highly depends on where you are in your journey. Assuming you're not yet in the Salesforce ecosystem, meaning you don't have a job related to Salesforce. For those that are new, what I would recommend is build up your profile, your capabilities. Trailhead is free. The thing is, you want to be able to demonstrate to people that you can build things, not just finish Trailhead modules. That's one of the biggest. Um, Part of that is being able to create even, for example, if you want, build short videos showing a demo of, let's say, a 5 minute video of the thing that you did, post it on social media, be open in terms of, hey, how can I improve? So it really depends on how you want to show yourself. But one other thing that I would recommend is you could leverage social media to either follow or connect with people that are actually focusing on Service Cloud. So you may connect with people that are certified, and then just be open. Hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Do you have any tips in terms of what I can do? Or sometimes it's really just a matter of asking, and if you ask earnestly enough, most people are actually more than willing to help. All right. And then for those that are already experienced, let's say those that are already in the Salesforce ecosystem, in terms of pursuing this career in Service Cloud, the thing is, um, in many cases, let's say if you're working for a system integrator or SI, this is something that you could bring up to your managers that, hey, I want to focus on Service Cloud. If you could put me in projects related to that. And of course, part of doing that too is you have to be prepared. Ideally, you take all of the Trailhead modules on that, be equipped and build things on it. And if you can't even, for those that are more advanced, help create knowledge articles or help bring up the knowledge level within the company. And for example, you could create, for example, brown bag sessions wherein you're sharing something about a certain aspect of Service Cloud. It could be something like new features of, let's say, Service Cloud Voice, how easy it is to implement, things like Einstein chatbots. Hey, I've done this chatbots in less than 2 hours, and it can do these 10 things, right? So being able to demonstrate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the first thing, if you're starting your career journey in Salesforce, connecting with people who are already in this space could be really helpful. And nowadays we have a lot of social media platforms like LinkedIn or Twitter where people are really approachable, and you can just say, "Hi, I really need your help with this. Can you take out some time? Maybe you can schedule a meeting or a one-to-one conversation." And people are really helpful, especially within the Salesforce community. I can see that a lot of people are, super helpful. Once you approach them, they're like, "Oh yeah, why not? Let's do it." So I'm sorry, that's first thing. And then if you're prepared yourself and just when you're reaching out to anybody and you're showing that, okay, this is what I can do and this is how I can do things, that's really awesome, because that way you are communicating that, um, oh God, I'm so sorry. So that way you're communicating that you can actually do this. You're not just simply wasting anybody's time or you're just fiddling around, but you're actually there to learn something or work on a project, as Joey mentioned. So, yeah, these are some of the really interesting tips that conclude our specific questions. Before we move on with the audience questions, just a little self publicity. So we are Apphienz, and we're a registered Salesforce partner. We work with some really amazing clients, and we're hiring for multiple different roles, especially for junior level and senior level developer roles. So if you think you are somebody who has this kind of experience, please feel free to drop me a message on LinkedIn, or you can send in your email resumes through email at careers@aphienz.com. Um, okay, so moving on to our first question. Our first question is from Bhupati. He says, "Hi Joey, I'm Bhupati, currently working as technical support specialist for a retail POS software, looking for opportunities into Salesforce, so exploring all options. So do you think somebody who has previous technical support specialist experience would be able to transition into the Salesforce Sales Cloud or Service Cloud consultant role, or do you think there are other opportunities that this kind of profiles can enter into Salesforce?"
Yeah. So I personally believe that you can turn this experience into your advantage because being having that experience working as a technical support specialist gives you some knowledge in terms of how um, actual companies actually use service, right? So armed with that knowledge, those are what we call industry experience, right? Now learn about the different tools that Salesforce can use to improve that process. And then that's actually being able to talk about that, being able to demonstrate that you can actually do some of those in your own developer org. This is something that I would encourage you to do. Let's say if you're doing an interview, especially a Zoom one, take time, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Just demonstrate this is what I've done on my free time. And then yeah, show them that there's something that you can do, and then yeah, be open for critique. Hey, if there's something that they would want, right, just keep on doing that. I'm sure up to a certain point there will be company that would give you the opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Learning new skills and showing that you can do all these things which you're claiming to do would be a good start. And you can just look for some entry level opportunities and eventually move on to the more experienced role. Okay, so our next question is from Krishna Sahu. He's saying, "I'm a final year student and want to start a career in Salesforce. What is the best step?"
Yep. Personally, for me, there's nothing stopping you from going through the Trailhead modules. If you really want to impress companies, finish a lot of super badges. That's actually a really good way to demonstrate that you know what you're doing. And depending on opportunities, you can either pay for the certification yourself or join user group events or conferences. There are also conferences happening around the world. Um, those usually have at least certification prices as their draw in terms of the conference. So I'd recommend you joining many of those. There is actually a calendar where you could see all of the different Salesforce conferences.
Yeah, you just showed that.
Sorry, take note that one is the user group event, but there's actually a different one for the community conference. I will
Okay.
actually post that in the private chat or the public chat. Am
Okay,
I
perfect.
correct? They're able to see this.
I can see this, but I will post it in the comment section.
I'm not able to post a comment. I think I have to
Yeah,
log in.
I just did it. Don't worry.
Yep,
It's perfect. It is there. People can see it now.
great. And I also posted the second one.
Okay.
That's the
Um,
one for the community conference. So, for example, there's actually one happening next week. So, Cactus Force, this one is both virtual and in person. So, depending on where you are, you could possibly just join the virtual one. So, I
mhm.
believe it's free for the virtual one.
Okay.
So, technically, there's no investment required aside from your time, right? I would say this is one of the more technical things. So it geared towards developers, architects, and configurators. But this is where you'd actually see quite a lot of advanced topics. All right. There's actually much more here, so feel free to look around to see what works well for you. All right.
Yeah, that's fantastic. If you're getting started with your career in Salesforce, you can get started with Trailhead. You can learn so much from these different community groups, and as Joey mentioned, these conferences as well. And then you have people like Joey, all of our favorite MVPs who are interested in sharing their knowledge with all of us. So yeah, you can approach. Joey or other people within the Salesforce community, they're super approachable and they'll be happy to help you. Okay, moving on to the next question. So, next question is from Himanshu, and he wants to know, to get started in Salesforce, do I need to have a strong knowledge of coding?
It is not necessarily required to have a strong knowledge of coding, but having this would actually give you a really good edge over most of the other candidates. I'm going to be very biased here because I come from a really heavy development background. But the thing about Salesforce is up to a certain point, yes, you can use flows, but there's going to be things that you need code for. So at that point, let's say you're employed and you're the only one responsible for Salesforce. The option for the company would be, should do we need to hire a third party company or a freelancer to do this work, or can you do it, right? So that gives you a really good edge in terms of being able to code.
Yeah, and there are so many examples where people coming from different career backgrounds or totally non-technical backgrounds moved to Salesforce and now are Salesforce developers. One of our initial live sessions were with a Supermoms trainee, and she was a French teacher and she moved on to become a Salesforce developer. And so there are so many examples. It's not too difficult. If you are interested in coding, I recommend you should go for it. It gives you a better edge over the competition as well, because there are a lot of people who are just into the admin side and the consultant side, and having the developer knowledge will obviously give you more options to grow within your role or within the organization. All right, so moving on to next question. Next question is from Balaji. He's asking, I'm working on Sales Cloud for months now. Is it good to continue or better to switch to Service Cloud? I think this is going to be very conflicting, switching between Sales and Service Cloud. You can have knowledge for both the clouds, but let's just hear it from Joey. What do you think?
Yeah. So the thing is, it's not one or the other. In many cases, if you want to be a good consultant in Salesforce, you actually need to learn both, and way, way more than just sales and service cloud. So my answer to this is it doesn't actually matter. The point is you actually still need to learn both.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think 4 months is a very good time that you can claim that, oh, I know everything, I don't need to learn more, and I can move on to Service Cloud. You can still learn both simultaneously. It's not like one is better than the other. All right, so moving on. Next question is again from Tom. Tom is asking, I read recently that Ford launches VIIZ, a field service tool built on Salesforce. Is this a customized app for small businesses? It sounds like it was created by Ford, not Salesforce. Any insight on this? I have no clue about this. Do you have any idea about this?
Um, I actually don't also, but you mentioned here that it's a field service tool built on Salesforce. I'm not totally sure, but let's say it's highly likely that this might be something specific to Ford as a product. They may, I don't know if they're using Salesforce as the back end. Regarding the question about customized app for small businesses, you'll probably have to contact them to see if you're a good fit for that. But uh, I won't be able to answer this question since it's not something that I've seen yet.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay. Um, all right. So we just have one more question from Jenny. If you are watching us live and you have any more questions for Joey, please feel free to drop them in the comment section. And we will be closing the session soon. So now is your chance. Okay. Jenny wants to know, do you have open positions for entry levels in Apphienz? Yeah, we do have some entry level roles. Please feel free to message me on my LinkedIn profile, or you can drop me a message at careers@aphienz.com, and I'd be happy to answer you with that. Okay, so that was our last question. We don't have any more questions. That concludes most of our sessions. So, yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We look forward to hosting such interesting lives for you all. If you have any topic recommendation for our upcoming lives, please let us know in the comments, and we will make sure to accommodate all of them. And we have a really amazing live plan for you for next week, where we will be talking with an award-winning marketeer. About how you can build your personal brand and how it will help you in your job search or eventually your career journey, because having a personal brand is definitely something which we all should learn more about. And it when you're looking for a job, especially nowadays, with LinkedIn, people are more interested in browsing your profile before even interviewing you. So this is something which you should look forward to. I will post in the link to our next upcoming live in the comment section. And yeah, don't forget to tune in next Thursday. And stay tuned and follow us on all of our social media handles to stay updated with the latest events. Thank you so much, Joey, for sharing all about Salesforce Service Cloud and for taking out time from your busy schedule to chat with us. You were fantastic.
Yeah, I just posted my Twitter and LinkedIn profile for if you want to follow.
Oh,
So
perfect. So
yeah.
I will share it with everyone. Perfect. All right. Everyone, if you have any more questions, you can connect with Joey. Joey just shared his Twitter and LinkedIn profiles.
All right.
We got a lot of messages for you, Joey. Um,
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
all right, then. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks again, Joey, for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of the day and week, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.